King Arthur's Knights, Chapter 3. How Lancelot was made a knight, the four witch queens, and the adventures at the Chapel Perilous. When King Arthur was arrived at the age of 25, his knights and barons counseled that he should take a queen, and his choice fell upon Guinevere, the daughter of King Leodegrance of the land of Cameliard. This damsel was the most beautiful and the most gracious in all the realm of Britain. When the marriage was arranged between her father and Merlin, King Leodegrance said that for her dowry, instead of broad lands, of which King Arthur had many, he would give to Arthur the Table Round, which Uther Pendragon had in friendship given to him many years before. For as King Arthur was already famous for his prowess and nobleness and his love of knightly men and brave deeds, Leodegrance knew that this would be a gift beloved of Arthur. With the table were to go the knights who were its company. It seated 150 when it was complete, but many had been slain, and now they numbered but 100. When King Arthur heard from Merlin of the coming of Guinevere, with the 100 knights bearing the round table with them, he was very glad. For, said he, this noble company pleaseth me more than great riches. He charged Merlin to go and espy through all the land of Britain for another 50 knights, so that the tale of the noble company of the Round Table should be complete. Now it chanced that while Arthur sat in the hall of his palace at London, waiting for Guinevere to come to him, and for Merlin to return from his quest, King Ban, who had aided him in his fierce battle against the 11 kings, sent his young son Lancelot to Arthur's company to learn knightly deeds and noble prowess. None knew who he was but Arthur, who kept the matter secret. Many had smiled at the huge limbs of Lancelot until his great strength had caused them to respect him. And being but a young man, he had not yet got all the courtly bearing and noble manners for which in later time he was famous throughout all Christendom. So that many knights and ladies smiled sourly upon him, but others saw that he would shortly prove a fine man of his hands, full courteous and gentle, and of a noble nature and great presence. At the court was also young Gawain, son of King Lot, and a nephew of the king. Both Lancelot and Gawain were as yet not knighted, but together they tilted at each other in the lists beyond the walls, and spent their days in sword play and all knightly exercises. Lancelot was the stronger and the better fighter, and though Gawain never overcame him, yet did they twain love each other passing well. Now Gawain went to the king one day and asked of him a gift, and King Arthur said he would grant it. Sir, said Gawain, while Lancelot stood a little way off, fondling the hounds that licked at his hands, I ask that ye will make me knight the same day that ye shall wed fair Guinevere. I will do it with a good will, said the king. And Lancelot, he said, calling to the young man, have ye no boon to ask of me? Not at this time, sir, replied Lancelot, but in a little while I may. Into the hall next day, as the king sat at dinner, came an old woman, bent and feeble, but with revered white hair and gentle face, and she kneeled at the king's feet. What is it, dame? Said Arthur. What is it you crave? Justice, lord, she said in a weak voice, while the tears gushed from her eyes, or else I die beside the gate, where you do give the justice that all men praise. Who hath done evil to you? Said the king. Sir Caradoc of the Dolorous Tower in the Marsh, replied the old woman. I and my son, lord, did build a little hut of wattle on a little plot which we banked from the marsh, near the great wall of the rich baron, deeming it safe to rest within the shadow of the strong lord, and though his hard rule was hateful to those whom he oppressed, we were so humble that we thought he would not notice us. And meagerly we reared our living from the ground, and sold our poor herbs to Sir Caradoc, his steward, or to the people in the village in the marsh about us. But soon the Lord Caradoc desired the land on which our little hut was standing to make his lands the broader. He tore our poor home down and scattered all and thrust us out to wandering in the marshes. And when my poor son pleaded with the Lord, he had him whipped, and he was brought and cast half dead at my feet as I waited outside the hall. Now, if thou givest us not justice, we shall surely die." "Doth any know Sir Caradoc?" asked the king of his knights. "Yes, sir," said one, "and he is a great man of his hands, fierce and bold, of strong family. And his brother is Sir Tarquin of Camber, who tried to slay thee at Carleon, and was with the 11 kings in battle. Sir Caradoc liveth in a strong tower beyond the marsh, to the south of the river, and he slayeth all that desire to pass them, unless they pay him all he demands." "What?" said the king with fierce anger. "Within a few miles of this my justice seat doth such tyranny rule unchecked? And ye tell me not of it? Are ye then more fearful of this marsh robber than of me, your king?" The knights hung their heads abashed and were silent. Then Lancelot came and stood before the king. "Let me, Sir King, go and summon this tyrant to your presence," he said, "so that this poor dame may have justice, and that ye may punish him for his oppression." "I fear me, Lancelot, thou art over young for so fierce a knight," said Arthur. "I shall bear but thy word, sir," said Lancelot, "and he will not harm thy messenger." "Take 2 stout men-at-arms with you, then," said Arthur, "and say to this Sir Caradoc that if he come not back with thee to answer unto me, I will come and take his life and burn his evil tower to the ground." Many of the younger men that had despite against Lancelot for his greater prowess at the sword and the lance thought that now, indeed, they would be rid of him, for they deemed Sir Caradoc would slay him. 2 days later came young Lancelot back with his 2 men-at-arms, and with them, bound upon a great horse, was a full, fierce, and raging knight, red of face, large of body, his clothes all tossed and torn, and his mouth full of dire threatenings against Lancelot. Men made way for them, marveling, and together Lancelot and his captive rode up the hall to the king. "Here, Lord, is Sir Caradoc of the Dolorous Tower in the marsh," said Lancelot. "He would not come when I gave him your message, so I bided my time until he had sunk in wine and was sleeping alone, and I have brought him secretly from his hold. Now, Lord King, I think Sir Caradoc would joust with me, if you will give me knighthood." "Joust with thee, thy smooth-faced boy?" cried Caradoc, straining at his bonds. "I will split thee on my lance, if I may get at thee, and when thou art slain, I will fight with this little king of thine, and his death shall wipe out this insult thou hast put upon me." At his rage and fierce bearing, men marveled, and many were afeared, seeing that Sir Caradoc was great in lands and kinsmen, and big of his body. "Thou art full young, Lancelot," said Arthur, "to joust with so strong a knight. Let an older man have ado with him." "Sir King," cried Lancelot eagerly, "I claim the first battle with this strong tyrant. He is my captive, and I claim it." "Have it as ye will," said Arthur, "and God speed you. But I misdoubt me much 'twill end in your sorrow." "Ay, and thine too, thou gentle lady's knight," sneered Sir Caradoc. "Peace, man, peace," said the king sternly. "I think God will fight in this battle, for I have inquired far, and the tale of thy evil deeds is over full." Therewith King Arthur made young Lancelot a knight, and men eagerly rushed away to the tilting ground to see the battle between the virgin knight, Sir Lancelot, and the old robber knight, Sir Caradoc. And when Sir Caradoc was released and armed, he laughed and shook his lance, so sure was he of revenge right speedily. Then they hurtled together most fiercely, and young Sir Lancelot was thrust from his horse by Sir Caradoc. Quickly he rose from the ground, and dressed his shield, and drew his sword, and cried, "Alight, Sir Caradoc, for I will fight thee on foot." But Sir Caradoc, being traitorous, rode at Sir Lancelot with his spear, as if he would pin him to the earth, and the young knight had much ado to avoid him. All the knights cried out upon Sir Caradoc for a foul knight, and for shame he threw down his lance and alighted, and rushed at Sir Launcelot full fiercely, in order to slay him instantly. But that was not easily to be done, for however wise Sir Caradoc was in swordplay, he was mad with wrath, and therefore thought of naught but to slay his enemy instantly. He raged like a wild boar, and gave Sir Launcelot many evil strokes, yet never did he beat down the young knight's guard. Soon men perceived that Sir Caradoc's great fierceness was causing him to make blind strokes, and then Sir Launcelot seemed the more wary. Suddenly they saw the young knight leap forward and beat so heavily upon the other's helm that it cracked. Sir Caradoc strove to guard himself, but Sir Launcelot was so wroth and so mighty of his blows that he could not. At last Sir Launcelot beat him to his knees, and then thrust him groveling to the ground. Sir Launcelot bade him yield, but he would not, and still sought to thrust at the other. Then the young knight struck at him between the neck and the head, and slew him. Both the knights and the common people shouted with joy and acclaimed Sir Launcelot as a noble and mighty knight. But the young man was full modest, and withdrew from the press. King Arthur gave unto him the Dolorous Tower and the lands which had belonged to Sir Caradoc, and Launcelot caused the old dame and her son to be given a fair piece of land and a hut, and many other wrongs and evil customs that had been done by Sir Caradoc, Sir Launcelot caused to be righted. The kinsmen of Sir Caradoc went apart and conspired to have Sir Launcelot slain, but for a long time they could not come at him. Then, when the queen came unto King Arthur, there was great feasting and jousting and merry games, and Sir Launcelot, for his knightly prowess in the lists, and for his gentle courtesy and noble manners to all, both rich and poor, high and low, was sought by many, and for some time rested himself in knightly games and play. Then on a day in June, when a sudden wind from a lattice blew upon his face as he laughed and jested with ladies and knights in silks and rich garments, he bethought him of the fair green woods and wide lands through which lonely roads were winding, and departing from the hall forthwith, he bade his horse and arms be brought to him, and rode into a deep forest, and thought to prove himself in strange adventures. Thus faring, he rode for 2 days, and met with naught. On the 3rd day the weather was hot about noon, and Sir Launcelot had a great list to sleep. He espied a great apple tree full of white blossoms, and a fair shadow was beneath it. And he alighted and tied his horse unto a thorn, and laid his helmet under his head, and slept. While he thus lay, there rode by him on white mules 4 ladies of great estate, and 4 knights about them, who bore a canopy of green silk on 4 spears, so that the high sun should not touch the faces of the ladies. Then as they rode by, they heard a war horse grimly neigh, and looking aside, they were aware of Sir Launcelot all armed and asleep under the apple tree. The ladies came nigh him, and of them there was Queen Morgan le Fay, who was wife of King Lot, and an evil witch; the Queen of Northgales, a haughty lady; the Lady of the Out-Isles, and the Lady of the Marshes. And when the Lady of the Marshes saw the knight, she cried, "Now this is a good hap as ever could be, for this is he that slew my brother, Sir Caradoc of the Dolorous Tower, and for revenge of that, I will have this knight taken to my tower and torture him before I slay him." "That is well said," said Morgan le Fay, "for he bids fair to be one of the most strong knights of Arthur, whom I hate. This man, Sir Launcelot du Lake, is the favorite of all the ladies at that court who hate me. So I will lay an enchantment on him, so that he shall sleep." Then the evil queen laid her hands over the face of Sir Launcelot, and said strange words that none could understand. And then he was laid a crupter of one of the knight's horses, and he did not wake. When in the twilight Sir Launcelot awoke, he found himself on a straw pallet in a strange room, and he leaped up and went to a narrow arrow slit in the wall and looked out. Before him, for a great distance, was a black, watery land, with the sun sinking far away on the very edge, and the pools of the marsh were as if they were of blood. And we'll pause here and we'll continue with this story of Sir Lancelot in the next video. Thanks so much for watching. I love you guys. As Tigger says, ta-ta for now.